Anyway,
All right, so today Zach asked us to go over some symbolism in Deuteronomy 28. Just a quick overview. Deuteronomy 28, 29 are the blessings for keeping the commandments slash Torah, and the cursings if you
for not.
don't. Um, and they're generally opposites of each
I
other.
would I would almost say that it's the prophecy for when they don't on another level.
I can see the word prophecy, sure. I, I don't know if I would quite use prophecy though specifically because this is a conditional,
Yeah.
and I do know there are conditional prophecies, but I
Uh,
this is not really worded as a prophecy. These are just like this is what it is.
Yeah, this is what it
mhm,
is. This is going to happen if you don't do this.
right.
Right. But I can see why you use the word prophecy. I just don't think of it that way. So, but sure. But anyways, Josh, you want to read verse one?
Sure. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently, ooh, I like that, diligently, unto the
Oh,
voice
well, I was
of the
just
Lord.
saying, what's hearken mean?
Oh,
Yeah,
obey. And
obey.
Hear and obey.
hear
Do.
and
Hear and
obey.
obey.
Yeah,
Shema.
Hear
and
and
then
obey
and not just
diligently.
and diligently, like you're really putting effort into it, right?
Yeah,
Right,
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 Well, it's not just really putting effort into it over a short period of time.
right.
Yeah,
right.
it's
Continuously.
continually. Not,
Right.
Mm.
yeah.
Yes.
So if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice, excuse me, of Yahweh Elohim, to observe and to do all his commandments,
Are
which
are you sure? Are you sure that's all, not just your favorite ones?
it
Wait.
might be, it
I
might
just
be
want to point
how,
out.
I don't
I just
know.
want to point
Anyways,
out how. I just want to point out how Moses is defining. He's defining what it means to hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh Elohim.
yes, yeah, to observe and to do
Shema.
all his commandments, which I, Moses, command thee, the congregation, this day.
Right.
Okay.
Or in other words, I have repeated this day,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Yep.
also there's this, and also there's this. It's Moses speaking the commandments. They're not hearing them from the voice of God directly. They purposefully said, "Don't let God talk to us," and God was like, "They speak well." But Moses is the person who's delivering these commandments.
And they're responsible to keep
You,
them.
if you are a wicked person who is not keeping the commandments of Yahweh, you have no right to expect that Yahweh is going to give you your personal commandments.
Well, on top of that, even if you're righteous, as in striving to keep Torah, you have no right to demand anything like that from Yahweh either.
Right.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah, you don't have a right to demand anything.
So
Correct.
this is Moses delivering these, who has repeated these commandments this day.
Right.
Correct. Right.
So, okay, so to observe and to do all his, Yahweh's commandments, which I, Moses, command thee, the congregation, this day,
Hey,
that Yahweh
guys.
Eloheinu will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Hey guys, I got a question. What are these commandments that he's commanded this day? Should we go to Mosiah chapter 12?
We can do that real quick if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. But it's later in the chapter of Mosiah chapter 12
With the commandments.
I know exactly where to pick it up.
Cool.
Okay. We,
30.
no.
Okay, I'm gonna pause for a minute.
Yeah.
I've got Mosiah chapter 12 verse. I want to start at verse 20.
Verse 20.
Okay, there we go.
And it came to pass that one of them, the priests of Noah, said unto him, Abinadi, what meaneth the words which are written, which have been taught by our fathers, saying, how beautiful upon the mountains are the feet of him that bringeth good tidings, that publisheth peace, that bringeth good tidings of good, that publisheth salvation, that saith unto Zion, thy God reigneth.
Oh, okay, and unless Ben wants to say something, I want to interrupt a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
So, what is this? Bringeth publishing peace and bringeth good tidings. So, this has to do with a peacemaker, and a peacemaker is someone who teaches Yahweh's ways such that they can get peace from Yahweh, which also goes along with publishes salvation. He's teaching people how to receive salvation through Yahweh, Yeshua,
Mhm.
which is where the peace comes from.
I can't think of how many times I've heard this in BLDS meetings, Brighamite LDS meetings, where they talk about how they're Zion and that we need to publish peace about them and bring good tidings about them. Thy watchmen shall lift up the voice, with the voice together shall they sing, for they shall see eye to eye when Yahweh shall bring again Zion.
Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. When Zion comes, they'll see again, because in Zion, everything's going to be off of Torah.
Right.
But yeah, and that's and these people are citing this terribly. It doesn't back them up at all.
Oh, yeah, they're twisting it.
Oh,
yeah.
it horribly condemns them.
Break forth into joy, sing together, ye waste places of Jerusalem, for Yahweh hath comforted his people. That's us here who are committing adultery and doing all these terrible things, but building great temples. He hath redeemed Jerusalem.
Well, they haven't done that. So
Okay.
whatever they say about this other part, they're not doing for sure. They haven't redeemed Jerusalem.
They have absolutely not redeemed Jerusalem. They're teaching people to, in fact, they're teaching people to double down on their sins and forsake faith in Yahweh. Yahweh hath made bare his holy.
Oh, okay, so let's just be careful, because I agree they don't really teach Yahweh's ways, but they don't. They're clever in how they say what Ben is
They're
saying.
teaching people that medicine is the medicine's the miracles of Yahweh. So I get it. I get it.
I do hear.
Not everybody's going to see it that way. So good caution. Good caution.
Yeah. So ultimately, I do agree with you, Ben. But for someone who's not where we're at, we need to be careful how we say it.
Yeah, I get it. Not everybody's going to see it that way. Yahweh hath made bare his holy arm in the eyes of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth shall see the salvation of their God. Now Abinadi said unto them.
Now, I will say this. This ultimately is pointing to Zion and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It
Agreed.
absolutely is.
Agreed.
And now Abinadi said unto them, are you priests and pretend to teach this people and to understand the spirit of prophesying? And yet desire to know of me what these things mean? I say unto you, woe be unto you for perverting the ways of Yahweh. For if ye understand these things, ye have not taught them. Therefore ye have perverted the ways of Yahweh. Oh, ye have not applied your hearts to understanding. Therefore ye have not been wise. Therefore what teach ye this people? And they say, we teach the law. And they said, we teach the law of Moses. And again he said unto them, if ye teach the law of Moses, why do you not keep it? Why do you set your hearts upon riches? Why do you commit whoredoms and spend your strength with harlots? Yea, and causes people to commit sin. But Yahweh hath caused to send me to prophesy against this people, yea, even a great evil against this people. Know ye not that I speak the truth? Yea, ye know that I speak the truth. And ye ought to tremble before Elohim. And it shall come to pass, ye shall be smitten for your iniquities. For ye have said that ye teach the law of Moses. And what say ye concerning the law of Moses? Doth salvation come by the law of Moses?
What say ye? Now, real quick. He is literally teaching in confidence. He is prophesying against the people, and he's prophesying the back half of Deuteronomy chapter 28. I will just put that disclaimer in there. If you read further past this moment, you will realize that all of the prophecies against those who do not live Torah happen to the people that he is prophesying against right now. Later in this part of the history in the Book of Mormon, all of the cursings that we find in chapter 28 you see happen to these people. But carry on.
And they answered and said that salvation did come by the law of Moses.
It does.
But now Abinadi said unto them. So here is Abinadi making a distinction between the law of Moses and the commandments of God. I know if you keep the commandments of God, ye shall be saved. Yea, if ye keep the commandments which Yahweh delivered unto Moses in the mount of Sinai, saying, I am Yahweh Elohim, who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other Elohim before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything in heaven above, or things which are in the earth beneath. Now Abinadi said unto them, Have ye done all this? I say unto you, Nay, ye have not. And have ye taught this people that they should do all these things? I say unto you, Nay, ye have not.
So I just want to say on verse 36, it's not a full quote, but that's okay, because in Hebrew thought, you don't have to give the full quote to get the full idea, because the full idea is worship it, because it's
Right.
fine to make things, images. It's not fine to worship them. In fact, Yahweh commanded Moses to make a snake.
Mhm.
Right.
Yahweh would not cause or tell
He would not
someone
command
to
somebody
break
to
the
break
commandment.
his law.
Sorry, say that again.
He would not command somebody to break his law.
Correct. So I just want to bring out here, this is not a full quote right there on verse 36, okay?
Yeah, and now
Right.
I find it interesting that it's when he tells them, all he has to do is quote the first two commandments, including no graven images, and they're ready to kill him. They're ready to go after him right there.
Well, they were ready to kill him before he quoted.
Yeah, but they're ready to put an end to his speaking right there at that time. And they stood forth and attempted to lay their hands on it. And when a king had heard these words, he said unto his priests, Away with this fellow and slay him, for what have we to do with him? For he is mad. They stood forth, attempted to lay their hands on him, but he withstood them and said unto them, Touch me not, for God shall smite you if you lay your hands upon me, for I have not delivered the message which Yahweh sent me to deliver. Neither have I told you that which ye requested that I should tell. Therefore Elohim will not suffer that I shall be destroyed at this time. So they came at him one way, and they were utterly routed.
Mhm.
They fled 7.
Until such time as it was his time, as he had delivered his message. And this is the kind of protection that we can count on, as we'll read later on in Deuteronomy 28. So then we go back. So I'm going to skip forward a little bit, go back into the commandments, starting at verse 11 of 13.
Yeah, I love it.
And now I read unto you the remainder of the commandments of Elohim, for I perceive they are not written in your hearts. I perceive that ye have studied and taught iniquity the most part of your lives.
So, written in your hearts, that means you know them so well. You live them. They are part of who you are. And you are humble.
And I should also like
No, I will also say though, getting to know them deeper comes with time. So even if you just know the basics and you got them written on your heart, that's
Yeah.
good to get started. Okay.
This is actually just the love of Yahweh the love of Yahweh is upon you, and you want to be like him.
Yeah.
Right. So on your heart goes along with what your desire is. So the ones that you know and have figured out already, you desire it. You want it. And so you live your life according to it because that's how you want to be.
Right.
Right.
But another important thing to realize is that this is said during the time of what Christians now refer to as the Old Covenant. So that having the law written upon your heart is not a new covenant change.
No, it's not. And it's in the Psalms, which is during the before the cross too.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
it, um, people like to say cute things that they can get away with most people and not really knowing what's going on.
Yes.
The contrite heart and broken spirit has always been a requirement.
Broken
Always.
heart, contrite spirit. Yep,
Always
yep,
been
yep,
the
yep.
requirement.
Always.
So let's go ahead, skip ahead to verse 12. And now you remember that I say it unto you, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of things which are in heaven above, or which are in the earth beneath, or which are in the water under the earth. And again, thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them.
Okay, so here's the part where he's doing a full quote here, okay?
Yeah, so I do think that the reason that so now he's going back to it and he's giving the full quote. Thou shalt not bow down to them, thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, YHWH Elohim, am a jealous Elohim, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generations of them that hate me.
No, there's a key point there. Hate me. For those who repent, it doesn't go that long.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And the other thing is the other reason why these things get generational is because the fathers that hate Yahweh teach that hatred to their children.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So that is literally the full quoting of that of the third of the second commandment. Yeah. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord of YHWH Elohim in vain, for YHWH will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain.
Mm. Mm.
So this is about and this is all about keeping. This is all about
You want me to Ben?
taking upon you the character of Yeshua, not just saying that you're going to take upon you the character of Yeshua.
So it's multiple things. That is one thing. In the New Testament, Yeshua talks about how if you take upon him his name, his character, and then go against that, it would be better that you have not been born.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So to go around claiming that you believe in Yeshua and you're a representative of him and not acting like he would, as defined in his law, Torah, is actually taking Yahweh Elohim's name in vain.
Yes.
Yeah.
In addition to claiming he said something that he did not, which goes along with false prophets and witchcraft.
Yeah.
So there's multiple aspects to it, but I do agree with the one that Ben's bringing out.
Yeah. Remember, in fact, I do think that you broadened it, deepened it, and took it to a new level. So thanks. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. That Sabbath day is one of the appointed times, Leviticus 23, which is determined by the sun and the moon.
Yeah, and Leviticus 2 actually ties it to the sun and moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day, the Sabbath of YHWH Elohim, thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days YHWH made heaven and earth, and the sea, and all that in them is. Wherefore YHWH blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
So pause for just a second. So it doesn't say how long the rest is. It says the seventh day is a rest, and
Yep.
it is. It doesn't say that you always the next day is a work day, does it?
No, it
Nope. In fact, right now,
There's not one place in Scripture that states
in
that.
fact, tomorrow is another rest day because it's the new moon day tomorrow.
New moon days are non-count days as far as the week.
Yeah, their new moon days are not weekdays, so which goes along with them not being count days. So, but it depends on the context. I'll just leave it at that because the 50 count, it will count new moon days. So
Oh yeah,
we'll take context into account.
the final Omer count. Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the Omer. The Omer is the first 7 Sabbaths.
First 7 Sabbaths. Okay.
People get mixed up because
Yeah.
they're counting 49 days instead of 7 Sabbaths. But if you don't believe in new moon days as a separate type, it works out, but that's not the case. And that's why it actually says 7 Sabbaths and not 49 days. But
Okay,
anyways,
so that's yeah. Okay, so the Sabbath count is the Omer count, and the 50 days is the daily count. Yeah.
yes. Anyways, but they're doing it wrong. So, and it never says to count Omers. It says count Sabbaths. Anyways, all right. But the other thing here I want to bring out is that it gives the reason to do it. Be like Yeshua.
Yep.
You do it because he did it.
Yeah, and just to highlight that, I'll reread 19. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, and the sea, and all that in them is. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. That's why we keep the seventh day, because we're trying to be like YHWH Elohim.
Yeah, and he states to be holy as he is holy.
Yeah.
That's why we do it. We're following his perfect example.
Yes.
So in verse 20, honor thy
Actually, I have
father.
I have a quick thing about verse 13 when
Okay.
he says like I Yahweh Elohim am a jealous God. I looked up the word jealous in 1828. And the fourth definition says solicitous to defend the honor of, concerned for the character of.
Yes.
So that yeah.
Solicitous to the honor of, and zealous to defend the character. That's the jealous that he's talking about.
Yeah, it's a righteous jealousy, not a wicked jealousy.
Mhm.
Not a covetous jealousy. Yes.
It's not the modern view of jealousy.
No, it definitely is not.
Well, the modern
No.
view of jealousy is covetousness. It's the very definition of covetousness.
Yeah.
So honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which Yahweh Elohim giveth thee. Now there are people who say that this one's about honor, about loving your neighbor, but this is one of the ones about loving God, because honor thy father, honor Elohim, honor thy mother, honor the church, honor the congregation.
Yep. And another way to look at it is look at the honor those who are in authority.
Yes.
You as Yahweh Elohim is. So there's multiple aspects to this.
Now, because there's also the very physical application of this, we are supposed to take care of our parents in their old age.
Correct, and you'll even see that in the New Testament with where Yeshua was chewing out the Sadducees and Pharisees for claiming money as korban, meaning dedicated to the temple, instead of taking care of your parents. And the korban was allowing them to keep their money until they died, and then they gave it to the temple. So they could have been taking care of their parents, but they used it as an excuse to make Torah null and void, as Yeshua stated. So.
Yep.
So this is the thing that the fifth commandment can go. The fifth commandment on the physical level very much applies to loving your neighbor, as in loving your mom and dad. But on the deeper level, it's very much about loving Yahweh and those whom he has placed in authority over you.
Right. Now, these 10 divisions of Torah, these are just quick summaries. like chapter summaries. These aren't the only things that apply under these 10 divisions. They're like
Right.
the most important parts.
Right.
Right. That's why you have the rest of the books of Moses, is to continue to flesh this out, and it's why you have the continuing scripture to flesh this out.
Yeah.
So thou shalt not kill.
It would. So I don't know why Joseph Smith did that, but it is better put "Thou shalt not murder."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yes, because there are documented cases, even in the Book of Mormon, where people were allowed to kill in defense of those who could not defend themselves.
yeah, and so
In fact, Torah says Torah says that it is wickedness not to defend the defenseless.
right, but on top of that, there in Torah there is capital punishment, which is killing. So
Yes.
this is a bad translation based off of the King James stuff, and
Right.
there's theories why it has kill instead of murder. I don't know if they're true or not, but if you go look at the Hebrew behind it, it is murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal.
So one thing I do want to bring out on "Thou shalt not steal," that is an English King James-ish. In the Hebrew, it's "Thou shalt not kidnap."
Yeah. Well, and then another thing about adultery. This is one of those commandments where it goes both ways, right? Obviously, yes, you don't commit adultery on your wife, right? Or your wife
Right.
shouldn't commit adultery on you, right? But the Jews constantly went out a whoring after gods and committing adultery with other gods
Right.
other than Yahweh. So this again is one of those commandments that can go both ways.
On that point, as Josh is talking about that,
Yeah.
that also goes when you break it up at 5 by 5. That goes along with the second commandment: "Thou shalt not bow thyself upon idols."
Right.
Which goes along with the imagery that Josh is bringing. "Thou shalt not commit adultery with other gods." It's the same one across. These 10 commandments or divisions of Torah are doing 5 principles across Yahweh and your leadership, and then with your neighbor and yourself. So
Right. Right.
So thou shalt not steal. That it's interesting that the Hebrew points to kidnapping.
that still is fine, but the better translation is kidnapping, which goes against how people think that Torah allows for slavery. It does not.
Especially not the take them in war, body snatch, and sell them.
Right. So there is indentured servitude, but that's way different than slavery.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're going to get into that, but anyway.
The bond servitude of and just really quick about that, and then I think we should move on. The bond servitude of the bond servitude of Torah is far different from actual slavery. At the end of in the Jubilee year, you were set free with more money than with money.
The sabbatical year.
Yeah, the sabbatical year. You were
Yeah.
set free with money to take.
So that way we'll never have to get into that again.
Yes.
So that you can take care of yourself and your family.
Yeah, and you'll never have to get in that circumstance again. So that's way different than slavery. But anyways.
So it was actually a way out of poverty for people.
Yes.
Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Okay, so these are the commandments that were given at that time, that were repeated going into Deuteronomy 28. So let's go back.
Okay, so let me just add one more. That's fine. And I think it's 27.
Yeah.
And now you have said that salvation cometh by the law of Moses. Now this is going to be, just to make it easier, I'm going to put Torah here because there's some differences, but I will say that it is expedient they should keep Torah as yet. Oh no, this is the law of Moses one.
This is the law of Moses.
That's the law of
yeah.
Moses.
Yeah, this is the law of Moses one, which is Torah plus some punishments. But I say unto you at the time that it shall be no more expedient to keep the law of Moses.
Mhm.
Okay, this is the one I want. 28. Sorry about that, guys. I'm doing this cold. And moreover, I say unto you that salvation doth not come by the Torah alone, meaning it is part of it. And
Right.
were it not for the atonement which Elohim himself shall make for the sins and iniquities of his people, that they must unavailably perish, and notwithstanding the law of Moses. So, law of Moses, it will not save you on your own, but Torah is part of salvation after you've accepted Yeshua and his atonement.
Correct. Yes.
As is shown very ably in Doctrine and Covenants, section 88, verse
Yep.
34.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've already sidetracked. So we should probably go back.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
go back to Deuteronomy 28.
Yeah.
So I think it was important to go over those commandments.
Which are the 10 divisions of Torah, or what
Yeah.
most people call the 10 Commandments.
Correct.
So
Okay.
We just finished reading verse 1.
no, we read more than one.
No, we
No.
didn't.
No, it was
we
just
didn't.
one. It was
Oh,
just
okay.
one.
All right. Never mind then.
Because Matthew interrupted me as soon as I finished verse 1 and said, "Oh, let's read the commandments."
Well, it's because it
It's
was
important.
a perfect segue.
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. It's okay.
Okay, so I'll read 2. And all these blessings that we're going to be talking about in just a second, okay, shall come unto the believer and overtake thee, meaning not enough a room to receive them.
Yes.
Mhm.
You will
Like
be,
it stated
in other words, the believers will be overwhelmed with blessings.
yeah,
Wait
yeah.
a minute. Isn't that the same promised blessing in Malachi to the priests who robbed God?
Well, they would stop robbing God.
Or stop robbing
And
God.
stop
Sorry.
robbing.
Yeah, sorry. If they were to repent and stop robbing God.
Yeah. I know what you meant.
You know what I meant. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Anyway, that's fine. That's fine. We're doing this at live. If thou shalt hearken, hearken unto the voice of Yahweh Elohim, meaning listen and
And
obey.
obey.
Once again, turn it back to verse 1 to find out what hearken is. To observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day.
Which
those divisions.
Yep, and which we've talked about before is an old way of saying faith.
Yes.
Listen and obey, aka faith.
Trust and diligent obedience.
So if the servants of Elohim keep Torah,
yes,
blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field.
So it doesn't matter where you are, you will be blessed.
I think this is more talking about whether you're preaching the gospel in the city of Zion or whether you're preaching the gospel in the mission field.
Okay, so I agree with both, but I will say this. It is first actually just where you're at, as Josh said. Now there is a deeper level, but I will say the main level is the surface level that most people are going to hear.
Mm-hmm.
The deeper levels are also true also with going with preaching in the church and out in the missionary field. Okay.
Yes.
But first it is the city and just where you're at, as Josh brought up.
But and the reason I'm looking for the deeper meanings is because we did want to bring some symbology out of this.
I agree, and if you wouldn't have said it, I would too. I'm just saying, the primary meaning here is the surface.
The primary meaning is exactly what Josh said.
It
Right.
doesn't matter where you are, you will receive an overabundance of blessings.
Right. And I just want to make sure it's clear. Um, the priests are to read Torah to the believers once every 7 years straight through. Okay.
Yes.
Now, the typical believer is only going to get the surface level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's those who put more effort into it that'll get the deeper stuff, as we're trying to bring out here, which is part of the purpose. But I just want to, it's first the surface level. That's all. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's good to understand even the surface level. There's so much hope in these promises.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Zach, you can read 4.
Flesh shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep.
So just on the surface level, fruit of thy body is children. Okay.
Yep.
Fruit of the ground is your crops.
Yep.
And fruit of the cattle, I
Yes.
mean that's baby
Kine.
cattle,
Yeah.
baby cows. It's just
Calf,
Calves,
the
yes.
word calves.
yeah. But there is deeper meanings there.
Mhm.
And I think Ben's going to want to bring him out. So go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, so blessed be the fruit of thy body. Now, children doesn't the deeper meaning of children, the symbolic meaning of children is followers or those who learn their trade from you.
Correct.
So the purpose of the life of man is to keep all of Yahweh's commandments and to teach others so to do.
I'll add just a little bit. I know Ben will agree. Is to come unto Yahweh and keep His commandments, and then help others.
Yes. Yeah, I was actually kind of paraphrasing a specific scripture.
Oh.
No, that's fine. I'm just adding a little more, but
And I agree with that entirely. Because you could make up a list of commandments, keep them, and curse God all your days, and still go to hell.
yes. Well, the fact that we all have sinned, except Yeshua, uh, the wages of sin is death, and that's physical and spiritual. So unless we come under His covering, we're screwed. So
Yeah.
Yep. That's the long and the short of it. Yeah.
So we need to come unto Yahweh, keep His commandments, teach others so to do. And so, blessed shall be the fruit of thy body. Blessed shall be those who come unto Yahweh because of your words. Blessed
okay, and then also works, because the fruits,
works. Yes.
Yeah, you
words
got
and works. Okay.
Words and works. And the fruit of thy ground. You know, every every day that we live Torah, we plant seeds.
Yeah.
Every day that we live Torah and are not ashamed of the gospel of Yeshua, we plant seeds, and that fruit will be blessed.
Yes, and to go along with that, a farmer needs to till the ground to just that way the fruit can grow and be planted. And symbolically, tilling the ground is calling repentance.
Exactly. And the fruit of thy cattle and the increase of thy kine. Now, the fruit of thy cattle, the fatted calf is a sign of Yeshua. So this is the fruit of those. So the fruit of those brought to Yeshua.
It's peace. Those who are coming on, because it's talking about increasing it. So the fatted calf is Yeshua.
Yep.
But the increase your fatted calf is to get more peace.
And the
Right.
flocks, and so not only will your cattle be increased, but the flocks of sheep will be increased. What is it that Yeshua was famous for his parable of the sheep and the goats?
Yeah.
The word sheep.
For the followers of Yeshua.
Yep. So there's a deeper exposition of Deuteronomy 28:4.
Matt,
Nice.
read 5.
Yes, sir. Blessed shall be the basket, thy basket, and thy store.
So the basket is missionary work and the store is the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
And
Mhm.
on a very physical level, it's basically you will be on a very physical level, you will have what you need.
Oh yeah. We forgot to do the physical, but yes.
On the surface level, he's saying you're going to have what you need, and it's going to keep as long as you need it.
Right. And this probably goes beyond what most people think nowadays, because most people just go to the store. Now, this is a different store. So in this store here is talking about your store underneath your floor or your barn, okay?
Right.
Right.
It's
Right.
not the store that you drive, your grocery store you drive to.
Blessed shall be thy Walmart. Blessed shall be thy Walmart. They will always have those things in stock which you desire. No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
It's not. That is not at all what it is saying.
no,
Right.
but that might be what some people might think in today's world. That's not the case.
Right. No, this is talking about this is talking about having enough.
Yes.
Enough food.
Right.
Because in the old days there was 3 seasons of harvest, and you would go give or take 3 or 6 moons before getting more stuff. So you
Right.
had to rely on what was done in that one harvest for a period of time. So yeah.
Right. Because of the winter sparse months.
On
Yes.
this one, yes, because of
Yeah.
the winter one. But on the other ones, it's give or take 3 moons, right?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
the wheat one is 4 moons. And
Oh, I see.
actually,
I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, I get it.
yeah,
Okay.
and I'll just show you something I came across recently doing some study. John 4, if I'm remembering correctly, we'll find out. Huh. Oh yeah, look, there it is. And say ye not, there are yet 4 moons. This was said a little after Passover. This shows
Yeah.
that there's 2 counts. Anyway,
Yes. Yes.
so anyways, not to sidetrack on that, but that is an interesting little point there.
That's pretty cool, though. That is pretty cool.
I mean, this was just after Passover. I'll just show you. So 3 is talking with Nicodemus.
Yep.
2 is Passover.
Turning the wine to the thing, and then he attends the Passover. Yep.
Yep. So, anyways, that 4 moon is very deliberate. It's because there's 2 counts to Pentecost, Shavuot. But anyways.
All right. So let's get back to Deuteronomy 28.
Okay, so Zach, will you read 6?
Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
So on the surface, this is just saying you'll be blessed no matter where you're at, right?
Right.
It's a reiteration on the surface is a reiteration of blessed shalt thou be in the city, blessed shalt thou be in the field.
Yeah. So in would be in the city or in the church, and then out would be in the field or doing the missionary work.
Yeah.
Right.
Josh, will you read 7?
Sure. The Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. So complete and total rout.
Yeah, so this is so I'm just going to point out that, like in the case of Abinadi, that happened until he had finished the mission that Yahweh had given him.
Could I possibly bring out another difference between 2 and 6, or not 2 and 6, 3 and 6?
Sure.
3 has a lot to do with your labors, and 6 has more to do with your travel to those labors. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. So that's travel. Whereas in verse 3 is blessed shalt thou be in the city where you're laboring, because there were jobs in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. There's jobs in the field or labor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a good
Makes
point. Yeah.
That
That's
makes
good.
sense.
Yeah.
So this protection that is promised here, this victory against your enemies,
Yeah. Sorry, man.
is promised in so much until it is promised. It's promised while there is still work for you to do in this world.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is the promise.
And so just FYI, and it can go beyond when you still have work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abinadi is a special case, all right?
Right.
But there is a time that Yahweh will make sure that you live, and if you live beyond that, blessed you be.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Blessed coming in and going out, right? I
Right.
mean,
The Lord.
yeah.
Oh, I was just thinking of something else about Deuteronomy 28:7. The Lord shall cause thine enemies to rise up against thee, to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways. I was thinking about the two witnesses.
Yeah.
How people shall rise up against them and shall slay them, but death cannot hold them. And
Well, so there is, I think that more applies that up to the 3.5 years that will be preaching to the wicked world, Yahweh will protect them. But there will be a point where he'll say, it's time. Yahweh will allow the murder of them, which is actually necessary. Okay.
Yep.
But after that, they will be brought back to life through her, with using Yahweh's priesthood power. And then they'll go out and be missionaries the rest of their life. Actually, to be specific, almost 1,000 years. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I said
Man,
almost.
there are gonna be a couple of really old farts by the time it's done, huh?
Yeah, but there are 4 missionaries that will have done double that. So it's not like
that is
done
true. That is true.
but it will be to the end of the mortality, or almost to the end of mortality when they finish. But anyways, and during that millennial period or close to that, they will be protected. So, anyways,
Oh, that is
Nice. All right, verse 8.
yeah, I've Ben, you want to read it?
Yahweh shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses, and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which Yahweh Elohim giveth thee.
So
Very much a reiteration.
the surface is the barn. This is where you go store your harvest while you're getting through it. Okay.
Yep.
The storehouse.
I would encourage people to read Jacob 5, a more understanding about the barn on a deeper level.
Sure. I mean, there's also Joseph Smith's last dream.
Yeah.
But the barn is the church. Okay. That's where you go store the fruit, the good works, and specifically the people doing the good works, right? But it is also good works because of the scriptures are records of those good works.
Right.
I'll tell you, we're not passing around people. We're passing around their words. So, anyways,
yeah, we're not. What's that thing where people ride on hands? Yeah, it's a crazy thing that people do at concerts.
oh,
Crowd surfing.
We're not
crowd surfing.
oh yeah, we're not doing that. Anyways,
That would be.
the land would go along with Satan's domain or people who are not in the church.
Yes.
And so this would be the missionary work again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Verse 9.
Yeah, Matt, will you do 9?
Yes. Yahweh shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee, if thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh Eloheinu and walk in his ways.
He will sanctify you.
Yeah,
That's-
so two things here. There's the justification and sanctification, right? There's a
Right.
process to that.
But I think that when you're established a holy people is when you're sanctified.
Well, I think no, because there's a condition in that. If thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and walk in his ways. So
Well,
he's establishing a holy people, which is
No,
just, and if you
he's
keep the
saying that he's going
commandments,
to establish them a holy people if they keep the commandments. So the conditional is whether or not they get established as a holy people, not whether they're set up, not whether they're
fair enough. Fair enough.
It's whether they get established as a holy people.
Right, but after you're justified, you do start keeping it. Okay?
Yeah.
And you are starting to be holy.
yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. You become set apart.
At a point, I think this verse points to both.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And that's what I'm trying to bring out, because you are ultimately, we are not saved by our own righteousness. We are saved by Yeshua's righteousness, which makes us holy, which is justification. Later, we are fully repentant, and where we're keeping all of Torah.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry. The way I just explained it to Ben was this. He starts kind of with the idea of sanctification, but gives how that happens afterwards with the justification, which is
keeping
the commandments.
Well, right, and so this is where it starts to be a process, because
Yes.
Yep. It is a process.
Yeah, anyways, like I was saying, we're saved by Yeshua's righteousness, and that's what makes us ultimately what's holy, because our righteousness is as menstrual rags, as Isaiah puts it.
Yeah.
That is
basically.
But yeah, that's what the Hebrew points to. It points to menstrual rags, not just filthy rags.
So I am quoting Isaiah with a better translation, as Ben's bringing out there.
Nasty tampons, huh? That's what he equated it to.
Basically.
I wouldn't say tampons. I would just say cloths underneath, because there's. But anyways, that's
okay. Right. Anyway, yeah,
that's a big point. But we're ultimately what makes us holy is Him, because even if we do keep the commandments without Him, we're still damned.
Yes.
You have to come under the covering,
and that's justification. But sanctification comes into play when we're actually keeping them now.
Right.
But our past still is an issue in getting saved. So we still need the justification.
So this verse is referring, that's why I said I think this verse is referring to both.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to get at.
Justification and sanctification.
That's fine.
That's what I'm saying. So anyways.
Perfect. I don't disagree. I'm not disagreeing anymore.
Okay. Zach, you want to read 10?
And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of thee.
The character of Yahweh.
All people shall see that you have the character of Yahweh.
Yes. Now, so I do think it's important to bring out what Yahweh means right now. I am that I am. It's not that I am what I will become, because he was that before he came down.
Right.
Yes.
And we needed to come down to become like what he already was.
Right.
Yeah.
We are the ones who need to become.
Which is the fact I am that I am shows the significance of the lamb chosen before the world was.
Boom.
Correct.
Boom.
Because he had already kept it. He already became.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And that's
We-
why we knew he would do what he said he would do.
Yep.
Because that's who he already was.
Right. No, it is us who need to become.
Right. And then this also somewhat, I would say, goes along with end times prophecy, how the wicked world is going to fear Zion greatly.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they will try to destroy it, even though Zion's leaving them alone, right?
Well, I think that they will actually flee from Zion if Enoch's Zion was actually any indicator.
Yeah, so there's a mixture, right? Because we do know that they're going to fight against it. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah, they will fight against it, but the people rose up to go to war against Zion, and then he unleashed, and then Enoch, then Enoch with the power of the Melchizedek priesthood unleashed the elements upon them, and they fled.
right. And that's
Oh,
what
wait.
happened with Zion. So I just wanted to make sure the timeline is there, not just part of the timeline. That's all.
Wait, so you're saying that even the city of Enoch had the promised blessings of Torah observance?
Yes.
The enemies came against them one way and fled seven?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes,
You
that
mean
is what
Torah was around for Enoch too?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at the JST, it makes it very clear, or the new translation, it's very, or inspired version, it's very clear that they had Torah with Adam.
Yes.
And Adam was the messenger. He's the one that started giving it to the people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
God's, and I say that question to point out that Yahweh never changes. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever.
I agree that I will just specify characteristics and attributes, right?
Yes.
Correct. Because he was a baby.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, that's character and attributes and ways.
Yes. And I just want to.
Which means that if Yeshua came down and sent apostles out, what does that mean about the fact that there were no apostles in the Old Testament?
There should have been. They
didn't do it right.
Correct. They did not do missionary work as they were commanded to.
Right.
That's the issue. It wasn't that Yahweh didn't want them to. They chose not to because of their pride.
Yep.
And this was one of the ways in which the followers of Yeshua's righteousness had to exceed that of the Pharisees.
Yeah, well, the Pharisees weren't righteous. I mean that.
Right. I'm aware. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I'm just making sure everybody else knows they weren't righteous.
Yeah,
They were very far from righteous.
Yeah, they made Torah null and void according to Yeshua. So they weren't righteous.
Yep.
And righteousness is defined by what Yahweh put in Torah for us. So
It's pretty simple, actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he actually
can we pause?
So
Yes.
he actually, when he says that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Sadducees and Pharisees, you shall in no wise enter the kingdom of heaven. He was really setting a low bar for entering the kingdom of heaven.
Yes, he was, and that gets into the 3 degrees of glory. But we're going to
Exactly, but we'll not go into that.
Not today.
That's beyond the scope of this recording.
Okay, we're on verse 11. I'll read that. And Yahweh shall make thee plenteous in goods.
Got it.
So in things that you own, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the fruit of thy body, which is children, just focusing on the literal right now.
Yep.
You'll get more cattle. You'll have, and in the
More
fruit of thy
crops.
cattle, and the fruit of thy ground, so you'll have your crops in the land which Yahweh swore unto thy fathers to give thee. So this goes along with within the promised land that you'll have these blessings. Go ahead.
So, Stephen, even on the basic level, though, are we just going to have enough to scrape by?
That's not what I see. I
That's
guess
right.
some of it will be depend on what your definition of plenteous is.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think on some level for practically everybody, plenteous means something different.
Right.
Sure. Well, I do think some people get carried away at that. Okay.
Right.
But it's more than scraping by. Okay.
Right.
Now, one thing I do want to add, especially with this word plenteous here, a lot of people seem to push that you'll get blessings in heaven. Now, that's true. Okay. But they seem to forget about the ones that happen here in the now.
Yes.
And
And
they also
let me say one thing and then you can say something, okay, Ben?
Sorry.
I think a lot of that is because they're not getting it because they're not actually keeping the commandments.
Yes. Agreed.
So what did you want to say, Ben?
And they also I think that a lot of people forget that the kingdom of heaven will be on earth.
Yes, that is another good point there. Even after mortality is over, it is going to be here on earth.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's going to be here during the millennium. I think most people agree with that. But I am adding a little more here to support even more that even after mortality is over, it's going to be here on planet Earth.
Yes.
So,
The new heavens, new earth.
yes. Now, we have already gone over fruit of thy body symbolism, fruit of the cattle symbolism, fruit of the ground symbolism. But then there's the land which Yahweh swore unto the fathers to give thee. So that has to do with Cana physically, but kingdom of heaven, or on to be specific, with the idea that heaven is earth, right? It'll be in the land nearer to where Yahweh resides in Zion.
Yes.
Which goes along with even in the pattern in the garden, even before the fall, there was four divisions in there. Okay. Which goes along with the 3 degrees of glory and sons of perditions. It's even there. But this,
Oh no. Stephen.
so let me pause for 1 second.
Yep.
All right, I had a little technical problem. It seems to be fixed now. Zach, will you read verse 12?
Yahweh shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow.
Okay, so first of all, Yahweh shall open to thee his good treasure, so he will give you his peace. Okay.
Yes.
But that's the spiritual level, but even just on the physical level, that's going to be goods. Okay. Like the crops, the gold, diamonds,
Yep.
things of that nature.
I do think that the treasures of Yahweh lie in Revelation.
Ultimately, yes, but he has physical treasure and spiritual treasure. That's what I was doing.
I mean, after all, people have been paying tithing for how many years now?
I think that's more of a joke. Because they're more what they're doing is tax or club dues, not actual tithing.
It's more membership dues, but
Yeah,
it was a joke about the BLDS corrupt tithing.
yeah, or Brighamites, but yeah, or the Brighamite LDS Church.
Yep.
Which they're doing wrong, but I don't know any Restoration Church that does it correctly, to be honest. So, not a and I don't know any Christian church or Jewish church that does it correctly. So, but,
It's very hard to do tithing correctly when you don't have Levites.
Well, you do the part where you give to others yourself, because that's actually part of that commandment of tithing. There's
Yeah.
lots of verses on that. So if there's no Levite you know of, you just give it to the people yourself.
Yeah.
So it's not that hard. But anyways, so I do think the treasure is spiritual and physical, as Ben's
Yeah.
bringing out on the spiritual stuff, okay? Which the spiritual would include revelation. But this gets on to rain. So on the physical level, that is rain to give water to your crops, okay? But on the spiritual, that is blessings. Rain is symbolic of judgment. And after judgment, you either get curses or blessings, okay?
Yes.
And in the
And
context of what we're going over here in the first 14 verses of Deuteronomy 28, it's blessing.
correct. I agree with that. It is blessings in this context. And here is an interesting point. People say that lending, period, is against Torah. Here is one of many examples how lending money is not against Torah.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have all his good treasure, and this is pointing to the physical stuff here, you can lend on donations because you don't lend revelations, okay?
No, you don't.
No.
You just
You
give
can
them
teach-
out.
You can teach them,
Yeah,
but you can't lend them.
yeah. Right, because
Give
lending
them, but
means
you
you get
can't lend them.
So, and also this would say that you can collect interest. That's part of lending, because lending is different than borrowing. Okay, and even in this parables in the New Testament, Yeshua brings out how collecting interest is fine. It's usury, which is too much interest, that is a problem. Okay.
Like when you decide to start charging people double from interest. That
Or
would be usury.
this is, I don't, in the Torah, I don't know where usury starts, okay? And where it
I was
ends.
just giving kind of an extreme example.
Sure. And I'm getting more specific since you're getting there. But even with the doubling, you still have to know where to start to get to know where to double it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I do think in today's society, 20% is considered usury. But that's a cultural thing as far as I know. I don't know any. Okay, so this brings out how you can collect interest. It's just you can't collect too much, and where that is, according to Torah, I don't know. I do in the U.S. society, 20% is generally considered usury, though there's a lot of places that like to charge more than that, right? So, anyways.
AKA payday loans.
Right. And because you have all his good physical treasure, you won't have to borrow.
Right.
So this lending and borrowing is showing how interest is not a problem here. Okay. It's how much you charge.
Yeah.
So this goes against the false tradition a lot of people teach right here in Deuteronomy 28, which is kind of a basic chapter, I think. But anyways, it's one of my favorites anyways. I don't know.
There you go.
I love this chapter as well. Do you
So,
want me to...
Matt, will you read 13?
Yes, I will gladly read 13.
I mean, John. Sorry about that.
You're fine. You are fine. Thank you. Thank you for remembering. And Yahweh shall make thee the head, and not the tail, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If that thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh Elohim, which I command thee this day, which I, Moses, command thee this day, to observe and to do them, or Shema.
You mean not just think about them?
No,
Yeah,
it's you got to do.
So does this mean that we actually have to listen to? Does this mean that we actually have to listen to our leaders?
Yes.
Well, if
If
they're
they do it
righteous,
righteously, if they're teaching righteous
righteous
principles.
leaders, yes.
Yep. If they are
Uh,
teaching righteousness, yes. If not, dismiss them.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
in this verse 13 means the leaders, and the tail is followers. Okay.
Yep.
Um, above goes along with leaders, and same with beneath goes with leaders. Okay. But only John brought out if you're keeping Yahweh Elohim's commandments, which actually goes along with Nephi, what he was told, and being in charge of his brothers, right?
Okay,
Yes.
and so we have in verse 14 a separate but an actually subsequent idea.
Okay, go ahead for us, Ben.
Thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve. So I just
I do want to change that gods to judges, okay? And that would include people judges, because people judge us all the time. But anyways.
Yeah, but this is what I love here is the words that he uses, thou shalt not go aside, and how Nephi describes how Yahweh does not turn from the right hand or to the left. He's commanding them to be like, he's showing them that these commandments that he's telling them that these commandments that he has repeated for them this day are so that they will be like Yahweh Elohim.
Exactly. So hopefully, as we've gone over the blessings or the first initial blessing portions of Deuteronomy 28 and 29, we and going over some of the symbolism, that'll help people have a deeper understanding of what's actually being said.
This is actually this is actually the promise of the covenant.
Yeah, because this is what comes with keeping it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't, so if you don't understand this as the promise of your covenant, then you don't understand your covenant.
No, you don't. Anyways.
And I would highly encourage study of the law of Yahweh. Study it. If you are in the BLDS, Brighamite LDS church, read it and think about the different verses in the Book of Mormon that can be applied and tied back to it, because the Book of Mormon teaches the law.
Yeah. Even after Yeshua's death and resurrection.
Exactly.
No.
And before and after. It's the same. He does not change. He does not go from the left hand or to the right. He is no respecter of persons. So please, I implore you all who hear this to remember Yahweh and learn his ways so that you can be partakers of his peace.
Yeah, and those who say that Torah is not in the Book of Mormon, you don't see it because you don't know it.
Yes. It is there, most assuredly.
Well.
So, that's all I have to say on that. Do you have anything else you want to add, Stephen?
No, I think that's good. I'm going to stop.
Beauty! Yay!